everybody, John McClellan here, ATX Hot Sauce, atxhotsauce.com. Check us out, subscribe below if you like our videos. Check out some of the other ones up. We have a really special one for you today. We always talk about our super hots that we get, all these great hot peppers and these great flavors that we develop with them. Well, where do they come from? Well, I've got two special guests today. We got David Marks and Ron Tilton with Hill Country Hot Peppers. We're gonna go a little bit behind the scenes, see what they've got going on here in Wimberley, Texas. All right, guys, we're back with my friends Ron Tilton, David Marks. The guys are with Hill Country Hot Peppers. This is where we get majority, well, from now on, all of our super hot peppers from. If you remember one of our older videos called the Texas Big Yellow Pepper, we've made a hella yellow sauce out of it. This is Ron's creation. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming today, for allowing us to be out here. We've toured the farm before, looked at the greenhouses. Introduce yourself, Ron, and tell us who you are and what you're about, and how you got into growing peppers.
Well, that's a long story. No, my name is Ron Tilton. It's a pleasure having you here today. Thanks so much for coming.
Absolutely.
I've been growing peppers for a long time and started Hill Country Hot Peppers probably 6 years ago to sell peppers commercially, and have been growing the business ever since. Last year and this year, we've really started growing thanks to David, who has come on board as a partner in Hill Country Hot Peppers.
Well, that's great.
I'm Dave Marks. I've grown up in ranching and farming, and I got addicted to growing hot peppers and started helping out Ron. And then we've just really taken off in the last 2 years with growing this business and making the hottest pepper.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, there's a big need for super hots out there too. I mean, the ones you get in the grocery stores are just not up to snuff. The ones you get from the big food purveyors out there, we've tried them. They're just not what a good local great farmer is. Oh, and we've also got Hercules here today too.
So Hercules,
he's the dangerous lapdog out here, right?
Yeah.
So what is your philosophy when it comes to peppers? I mean, you treat it like a scientist, and I think your background is a medical professional, correct?
That's true. My background is biomedical science. I worked as a scientist for a long time, did diabetes research. In my spare time, I've always had a vegetable garden. I've always loved germinating seeds. I've always enjoyed botany, although my whole career was spent in biology. And our philosophy is to just grow really beautiful peppers and sell them for as little as possible when we have to cover our expenses.
Right.
But make really super hot, beautiful super hot peppers available for the community.
Yeah, well, and it's great. So tell us a little bit about your what y'all have going on here. Obviously, we're in the barn right now. It's a little chilly outside. I think it's in the 50s today. The wind's blowing, and a little bit later in the video, you're going to see the grow rooms that we went and looked at a little while ago. Tell us about the process here. We've got greenhouses out front here, 2 big greenhouses. How big are they?
96 feet by 30 feet.
By 30. There's 2 of those because y'all want to do year-round growing, right?
That is our intent. Ultimately, we want to try to do year-round growing. It'll be a challenge in the summertime with the heat, and it'll be a challenge in the wintertime with the cold weather, but we're learning, and we hope to be able to grow super hot peppers year-round, to be able to provide them year-round.
Gotcha. So what kind of peppers are y'all growing right now?
This year, we're growing 35 varietals, everything from really mild peppers, jalapenos, Brazilian starfish, shishitos.
What, Brazilian starfish?
Brazilian starfish. They're an unusual pepper. They're from South America, and they are very sweet, but not a lot of heat. We use them to make a jelly. That jelly rarely makes it outside of Wimberley. It's so popular.
Yeah.
But we hate the pepper, but we grow it.
Okay, but it makes a good jelly.
We hate it because the plants are prolific, and they are very difficult to pick without breaking branches, and there are hundreds of them per plant. And so it's not uncommon to spend 15 or 20 minutes on one plant.
Wow.
And when you have hundreds of plants to pick from, who has the time for that?
Yeah. So we've seen the grow rooms you have back here. At what point do you take it from the grow rooms, from those bags, and put them out on the acreage out here, or put them in the greenhouse?
Well, this is our first year with greenhouses, and we go from germination rooms into the grow rooms, into the grow bags. They're 1 gallon grow bags, and we give them about 3 weeks to a month in the grow rooms where they're under intense metal halide heating and lighting, and then into the greenhouses. And the greenhouses are still not functional. We're waiting on subcontractors.
Gotcha.
But we're hoping sometime this month we'll be able to move what we have in grow bags now into the greenhouses. And they'll be there for probably 2 months. It'll be the beginning of May before those will go into the ground.
Right.
And so in that 2-month time period, we're hoping that they really, right now, they're really, the roots are really growing and new vegetative growth is taking place. But in the greenhouses, we're hoping they'll really take off. And everything that goes up into the greenhouse ultimately will go into the fields that you'll see. And we'll have room this year for almost 2,300 plants in that acre.
Oh, wow.
that were
and just on a habanero plant per se, how many habaneros do you get on a good plant, or how many pounds?
Well,
Roughly, you look at anywhere from every 3 plants, you're looking at roughly a pound a week.
Okay. Wow.
And that's the bare minimum.
Yeah.
They could be more prolific, and you're picking 3 pounds a week.
And so what is the life cycle for these peppers that you guys have grown? Obviously, you start with your seedlings in here, you go to the grow lamps, then they get them in the dirt. How long before they really start producing peppers?
Well, normally they would go into the ground from the germination room, from the germination cups. Those would go into the ground, and they would be 2 or 3 inches tall. And once they go into the ground under ideal conditions, it would be several months still. It would be May, June, into July, into August before we're really picking peppers. Now we can force flowering and fruiting, but the plants have to be large enough to make that worthwhile.
Right.
With our system now, we're hoping to put plants into the ground at the beginning of May that will be 12 to 18 inches tall. And we're hoping to be picking within 6 weeks from that, because at that size, we can let them establish in the ground over, say, a month's period. By the beginning of June, we can induce flowering and be picking hopefully by the end of June.
So what are the hazards you have to watch out for here in Central Texas?
Weather, storms in the springtime.
Y'all had hail last year.
Last year we were almost wiped out. This was our first year in the ground last year. The plants were small, and they had been in the ground for maybe 3 weeks. And near the end of May, we had a very significant hailstorm that virtually wiped us out. And due to the benevolence of a lot of other pepper growers here in the state of Texas, we were bequeathed and given all sorts of pepper plants that we used. But also it destroyed the grapes.
It destroyed 2 acres worth of
vineyards out here, right?
Yeah. So weather, also in the springtime, rain. There can be drenching rains. But the advantage of the greenhouses allow us to put into the ground in the springtime large enough plants to survive significant rainstorms, hail damage. So that's the benefit of the greenhouses. And then after that, the primary problem would be soil conditions, and we've talked about that. The soil here in the river bottom and in the hill country is not conducive to growing peppers. You have to work that soil over a period of years to get it to the right condition. And
when you move the acidity, right? And you're trying to add some acidity, lower the pH.
And nutrient level and acidity.
And what's that pH level that you're looking for? Let me ask you a backup question. What is the pH level at now? Just on the raw land? And what are you trying to get it to?
The pH now is above 7.0, 7.1, 7.2, depending on the soil sample you take. And we want it mid sixes. 6.5 to 6.7 is ideal for peppers.
And I think you said that the difference between 6 and 7 is tenfold.
It's a
right?
The pH scale is a log scale.
Yeah.
It's a tenfold difference.
So that's, you're doing a lot of work to really get it down to that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we're in the process of doing that. You have to add organic matter. You have to dilute the soil that's there with organic matter, and you have to drop the pH. And we're doing that with pelleted sulfur. We can bring in rice hulls, for instance, things that can go into the soil that's organic that will help decrease the pH. Peat moss is used a lot, but that's very expensive when you're talking about acres. And also peat moss, pepper plants don't necessarily like peat moss because it's not water absorbable, but it does a great job of decreasing.
And just to let everybody know that you don't use any kind of chemicals on your plants, right?
None
In fact,
whatsoever.
I think don't we, you have some chickens maybe, they'll be running through the plants here this summer too, try to get all the bugs off of them.
Yeah, and we train kids to use butterfly nets and catch
I got you.
grasshoppers. And
That's got to be a lot of, speaking of a lot of work, picking these peppers. I mean, some of them will pull right off the plant, but you risk damaging them. So you're having to basically go in there and cut all of these out, right? And
most are picked. Most are, because we pick only when they're ripe, and they'll pop off really nicely. But you have to train people to do that. You've got to really hold on to the stem and pop them. But it's one pepper at a time.
Yeah.
And some peppers are difficult to pick.
he's fine.
Some peppers are really difficult to pick
Yeah.
without breaking branches. There, it just takes more time. And so picking peppers is a labor-intensive process. It's done by hand.
So you'll take it as many volunteers as you want out here.
Oh yes.
I'll be happy to come out this summer and help you with those.
Yeah,
There's
you
just
say that
now.
now.
but yeah, when it's cold outside, yeah, it's a lot nicer, right? I guess the prime picking season is going to be that July, August, September, right?
That's the prime time, so to speak.
Right.
Picking time.
And which just happens to be when it's the hottest it is.
Yeah, and the hottest as well. Yeah.
But in that case, this is where you get up early and get here before the sun really shows up.
Yeah. Just like being a roofer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I've got a couple questions. Our Texas Big Yellow, the one that we put in our Hella Yellow sauce. If you could tell me the story about that one, this is a pepper that you've grown and basically created as a hybrid from some other peppers out there, right?
We've never had it genetically tested, but our assumption is that it's a cross between a Scotch bonnet and a Carolina Reaper.
But it's this big yellow fruit.
Yes. In the beginning, now, we're on about the F5, F6 generation on both. The Texas Big Red came first, and then that was followed by what we call the Texas Big Yellow. And they were identified as individual pods on a Scotch bonnet plant. When we grew Jamaican Scotch bonnets, and those are fairly large, yellow, and these turned out to be large, globular, smooth skin, very thick flesh, a wonderful flavor.
Yes.
And then a ton of heat, just an absolute ton of heat as well. And in the beginning, so as I said, we're on about F6.
And explain what is this scale?
Generations.
Okay.
We've grown them for 6 years.
Gotcha.
We do one generation a year. With greenhouses, that'll change somewhat. And also this year we've gone back to, we save seeds. I collect seeds. The scientist in me just collects seeds.
Yeah.
And those are saved. And we've gone back to about 3 years because recently they're getting smaller each year, but the flavor and the heat is still there. I was growing Reapers right next to Scotch bonnets, and that's all that were there. And the pepper originally appeared on a Scotch bonnet plant.
Oh wow!
And then the following year, it produced the whole plant produced the same seed. So I knew that the mutation was in the germline, and each year it continues to produce the pod, but it's grown smaller over the years. So what I've done is gone back to several years back and growing those seeds again.
Gotcha.
To see if I can't hybridize back to a larger size.
And you got me a couple of trays back there just for me.
Just for you.
Just for our hot
big
sauce.
reds and big yellows, and they're doing great. They're really doing
Where do
great.
you guys see yourselves in 5 years from now?
Well, me, retired and gone.
Are you ever going to really retire? Do you seem like you love this a little bit too much, Ron?
Well, I retired 3 years
Dave's
ago.
over here like, yeah, sure.
I retired from my career, and I've been doing this full time. You know, the intent is I brought on a partner, somebody that has the passion that I have, and we'll train him and teach him everything I know, and hopefully he'll continue. He has the space, he has the land, he has the commitment and willingness, and
So you can just be the tenured winemaker that walks to the field and doesn't do the picking anymore.
I think I would tend more towards the olive orchard than the grapes.
Okay. I know you mentioned y'all going to be putting some olive orchards out here.
Father.
And his father, once his father retires, I think he and I would do the olives, and David would be responsible for the peppers.
Yeah, well,
But
y'all-
I mean, this is fun. Obviously,
Yeah.
we're having a great time. For me,
I mean,
it was
follow your
always
passion,
a
right?
hobby.
That's what-
It was a hobby. It was a passion. I've loved growing all kinds of vegetables. My wife had a restaurant here, and we had a beautiful garden at the restaurant where I grew all sorts of herbs and flowers and vegetables, special vegetables for her restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And the peppers have always, you know, I just love peppers because of the diversity and how quickly they will hybridize, and they're just a ton of fun. And we turned it into a commercial business, but our intent has always been the quality of the product.
Yeah.
We're all about producing peppers that are absolutely high quality.
Good quality organic peppers too.
Good quality.
Made right here in Central Texas, which is
Yeah.
what we love, you know, being from Austin. Well, and I love, ever since the first time I met you, it was a pleasure. And that was a couple of years ago now.
Yeah.
And things have definitely gotten bigger since then. And there's a lot of great things on the horizon. Guys, thanks for watching today. If you want to check out these guys, the website, Instagram, Facebook, it's going to be on the links below. It's Hill Country Hot Peppers. Don't tell everybody, though, because then you're going to have to be growing a lot more peppers out there, right?
Well,
Anyway.
we are.
Yeah, and you are. I know you are. Well, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget where to subscribe below. Check us out on the web, atxhotsauce.com, atxhotsauce.com, and Hill Country Hot Peppers. Hey, and last, guys, I want to share something else that Ron does extremely well. He makes hot sauces, and dear to my heart, he makes fermented hot sauces. He does his a little bit different and a little bit longer. Ron, tell us a little bit about. So this is a non-fermented one, but these two are fermented hot sauces.
These two are fermented, and the Carolina Reaper we ferment for 3 years, and then the hot sauce is made with just the fermentation and apple cider vinegar. So it's pretty pure Reaper with a lot of heat. And then the Crying Cowboy is a mixture of a variety of peppers, primarily chocolate habanero and our ghosts and reapers and a variety of other ingredients. And these are fermented for 1 to 2 years. And then we have...
You said chocolate habanero?
Yes.
And I've had one of those here.
Well,
and they're really hot.
Yes, and they're my favorite pepper. They have an incredible habanero flavor. They're a beautiful pepper. They're large, they're beautiful, with an incredible habanero flavor, and we consider them a super hot.
Yeah.
They are hot.
And then we got the Scorching Sunrise right here. What is this one?
This is our only non-fermented. That's made with everything yellow, obviously. All the peppers are yellow. The ingredients include yellow watermelon, yellow tomato, pineapple, a very unusual vinegar. We use Datu Puti, which actually is a Vietnamese fermented cane vinegar that adds a really exquisite flavor to it that most people don't recognize.
Well, hey, check out these great fermented hot sauces. Fermented hot sauce, remember, with fermented hot sauces, flavor comes first and heat second, right? For all of us. Guys, thanks again. If you want to check out where to get this at, go check out our links below for Hill Country Hot Peppers.